What is up, people? This is DJ Michael Wycoff here, and we are kicking off the first of the studio sessions. This is where I'm going to be taking you inside the studio, some of my techniques, DJing, all the stuff that goes on kind of behind the scenes that gets you ready for performing and production, what have you, whatever you guys want to know. This first one is going out to a very good friend of mine, Mr. Perry Whitlow, who has been on my case for years to show him how I do some of the things that I do. And he was like, dude, if you still live by me, I would make you show me. So doesn't matter where I live. I'm actually going to show you right now. We're going to kick this off just for you, my friend. So he always wanted to know like how I did my bass lines. And I am a big fan of the Complextro style. And that is a style that was coined by Porter Robinson back in about 2011 or so. And what it is where it's a bass line, but the bass line is split throughout a various number of synths. So it sounds very intense, very frantic, but really, really groovy and synthy. And like I fell in love with that style when I heard it. And I actually started learning how to do it from Ryan NZ on YouTube. So if you want to learn the style, really, really learn this style, that is the guy you want to watch his tutorials on, because he taught me basically how to do this. And so before I teach you or show you my technique, I'm going to let you hear the drop, and then I'll break it down into how I went about creating it. All right, so that is the drop in itself. So now let's break it down how I do this. So what I tend to do when I'm making a drop like this is the first thing I'll do is I want to get my bass line down first. So I usually just load up a generic synth and play through my notes, figure out what that groove is going to be, because I want the groove itself to be strong on its own. So the original groove, when played through, ended up like this. So that was it. Now, if you notice, there's a lot of empty spaces for notes in that groove line. So once I have that down, what I will do is I'll start cutting the individual notes, because what's going to happen is things are going to get split up. And the technique that I learned from Ryan NZ is, he said to load about 6 or 8 different types of synths, bass synths in your project. That way you could just drop these in sounds, and it's kind of like putting together a puzzle. You want to see where these notes fit, where they sound the best, and keep the overall groove of what you're going to do. Now, he said 6 to 8. I tend to go more than that. Let's see on this one. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 different synths here that I use throughout the course of both drops. So let's get into the individual sounds here. We heard the one that's going to be basically my foundation. Now, the rest are going to be, for the most part, they're going to be accents. So this one we have here is a fast wobble. Under that is a slower wobble. I've got one type of growl here. Nice. We've got another growl here. Next one is one of my favorites, and pretty much you'll hear this in every Complextro track I ever do. This is a yai bass. I love that sound. Next one is a warp bass. It kind of opens up. It starts off small and opens up big. This one is a stab and it's very simple. But what I like to do when I use this is whatever note I'm going to use on that, I usually split it in two. So instead of it just being like, say it's a G, it's a G and a G lower. So it sounds like, so it adds a little extra something when it's at that speed and it just goes high-low real fast. This one is... Ugh, gritty. I love it. This one here is a pitch up. Very Skrillexy, but this one is way more Skrillexy, and I love this one. Love it. This one is one of my favorites because it serves a lot of purpose. This one is a pitch down, but I call it a triplet pitch down because what happens is when I push it, it keeps the note. So I can break it up. If I press it multiple times, the same note, it still keeps going down. So let's see. You know, that's still pushing the same one before it recycles. So that's really fun when you break it up at 16th notes or 32nd notes or 16th triplets. It sounds really, really cool. And last but not least, this one's one of my favorite accents to use, you know, and that's really fun to use, like, again, 16th notes really fast. And you'll hear it as we go through this. So once I've got all those synths in, then we start breaking it up and putting together basically this puzzle piece. Now, the first time through on this drop, it's not that busy. There are a couple things here and there, like I've got two of the pitch downs, that last sound I just played, and one or two. So it's not that busy because I'm getting you used to what the bass line is before I absolutely cut it to pieces. Now, the second time through is where I really just split everything out. You can like see the difference like right here on this first part. Like it's not split up so much. And on the second part, it is all chopped up. You know, as we zoom in, you can see like it's spread out everywhere throughout this whole thing. And you've heard the bass line, and you'll see the difference now. And it's the same bass line as the very beginning, but now it's cut up, so it sounds a little bit different. It sounds like more is going on than is actually going on. And you'll see as I start to add other elements back in. Check it out. So it sounds different, but it's really the same thing, just spread out throughout these various synths. Now, when we get into the second drop, that's where I change things up a little bit, because I didn't want the second drop to be identical to the first one. So once again, I go back to my original bass synth and I figure out what the overall pattern is going to be. Let's do this without the drums actually for a second here. I just want to hear this. Just mute all these bad boys real quick. And I just want to hear this. So. Now the second part is actually similar to the first. Now, the difference, the bass line itself is different, but the approach on this one was different too, because the first drop, I pretty much let the bass line go through with minimal additional synths just to get a feel for it. On this one, I just immediately dive right in because I've had another section where we've built the anticipation up, you know, we've got a riser and all that. So when this one hit, I just wanted to go absolutely crazy. So this one, I pulled no punches. I just immediately laid everything out and split it up through various synths from the very beginning. So here we go. So that's the second one, you know, and that's what it is. It's like it's finding your bass line, finding something that works with you groove wise, and then just chopping it all to pieces with your favorite bass synth sounds. You know, the more you have, the more you can play with. You know, the hard part, I would say, is splitting up your bass line and still keeping like an overall groove and feeling, so it doesn't sound like just absolute chaos, because it can happen real quick, and that's where the art, I guess you could say, comes into it. You know, knowing when to push it and when to let it go. You know, you could spend anywhere between 20 to 40 hours piecing this puzzle together to get something that you're happy with, and then after that, listen to it a day later and come back and do some more with it. So here is that second drop completely. Here we go, one last time before we get out of here. So that's how I do my Complextro Drops, Perry. That one was just for you. If you guys have any more questions, anything, again, this is just the first of a series. I want to pull you guys behind the curtain of how things go on, how I make things happen, and give back to a community that has given me absolutely so much. You know, this is my way of giving back to you guys. So if you have any questions, any thoughts, anything you want to learn, anything you want me to dive into, don't be shy. Hit me up in the comments, email, Facebook, whatever it is. Let me know, and we will attack this as soon as possible, and we'll make all these things fun and easy going for you, so you can, you know, do what you want to do and be who you want to be. You know, a lot of people won't pull the curtain back. I'm pulling the curtain back because someone had to show me, so it's my obligation to pass on what I've learned to people who want to learn. You guys take care. I'm DJ Michael Wycoff. I am out of here. Peace.